Welcome back to another great episode of Comedians in Bed, where comedians can be comedians. And I'm not really sure what that means, but it sounds like something you should say on a podcast. And today we have a special guest coming from Chicago, man, doing their thing. Not only that, they're very hilarious. I'm pretty sure he already have jokes about me, which is totally fine because he is one of the persons that is known for being a king of roasting. Just not here in the Midwest, but all over. Everybody's seen this video, and that's why we got him on here, man. The very funny, the very talented. Please, everybody, please give it up for Chris Grieco, everybody.
Oh my God. I'm here. What a tragic kingdom it would be if I were to be the king of it. Oh my God. That is awesome. Well, thank you. What an incredible intro. I appreciate you having me. This is very nice. We're in bed. We're snuggling. We're cuddling. You said some
I like
appropriate things to me before the cameras were on. I just want your audience to know that there's some fucking skeletons in this closet, okay? He's not the smiles and all the good vibes, all right? There's a reason we're in bed together. It's because he needs it, all right? And it's weird.
I
But it's
love
good.
the
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you asking me to do the pod here, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you saying yes. I love the dungeon vibes is over there. I know it's just because
Yeah,
it's a brick apartment, but
got some exposed brick. No need to brag, okay? But I couldn't afford a real wall, okay? So we got the outside on the inside here. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm a creepy guy. I like the dungeon vibe.
is it freezing over there in Chicago? I mean, my code here in Columbus is different from the code in Chicago. Is it freezing over there?
We both get cold. Ohio gets cold as shit too. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cold. It's bad. Yeah, we got the old winter polar vortex, which took like a 2-year hiatus, and it's like every 2 years we'll get like the insane cold and like normal cold. So we're back to insane cold temperatures, but whatever, dude. I'll layer up. I'll go out there. My nose will freeze together, and I'll call myself badass for being living in Chicago. You know,
And when it's cold out there, is that like the most that you guys kind of like take off, or are you sacrificing getting to a mic in this cold weather?
everyone goes out anyway. You know what it's like. I mean, you're from a place that's cold. It's like you just go out.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're sick or whatever, you stay in. But yeah, that's the thing about being in Chicago. People start to like. It's so funny that people will like hype themselves up to be cooler than they actually are. They're like, "I'm from Chicago, man. Okay, I deal with the polar winter winds." It's like you're just a jag off that bought a coat. Okay, so why don't you
Yeah.
go to work? How about that? How about that? The other thing Chicago people do is that they always hype themselves up like they have some personal connection to Al Capone. Every
Yeah.
motherfucker in this city has some close personal connection. Nobody knows Al Capone. No one knew Al Capone. Nobody had their family work for Al Capone. Okay. Any bar you go into in the Midwest and the suburbs, you'll just be in and they'll be like, "You see that corner over there? Al Capone used to smuggle boot." No, he didn't. Okay. That was a different bar and that doesn't exist anymore. Okay. So that's the two things is we think we're being cold and everyone knows everyone's a real mobster out here, apparently.
Are there still like mobs out there? Is there still mob families out there in Chicago?
When you say the mob, what do you even mean? That's you never admit the existence of this thing. But it's not what it used to be. No, I mean the mob kind of got canned. It got canned like from what it was. I mean, there's still like crime and like versions of organized crime, especially like you know that has ties to what the Italian mafia used to be. But ever
Yeah.
since like the Rico stuff and all those like crazy laws for organized crime, it's like it's not what it used to be in like the 50s and 60s.
I think the closest I've ever been to a mob was when I used to live in Youngstown, Ohio. They have a lot of Italians out there, so it was
Yeah.
a very big mob city. If you look
Oh
at the
yeah.
houses, those look like houses that mob families would live in.
Hmm.
For sure.
Hmm.
For sure, man. That's what's up, man. But no, man, I like your stuff. I like how you put together like your social media. It's very just
Oh,
plain black and white. Is that just like how you come up with like that? Just something you just like, or is like, all right, I'm gonna just stand out and be different?
I appreciate it. Yeah. So before I started doing comedy, I was doing illustration. That was like kind of the old path, and I was selling art on anywhere I could. Like I'd go to flea markets and sell my T-shirts and posters as an illustrator, and make pins, do a bunch of merch and stuff like that. Had a website. And so when I started my social media, it was like really visual based. Like that's what it was. It's like I wanted to. And then I started doing the thing where I saw photographers doing this first, where they'd want their pictures instead of just in the little squares to fill up like a 9 by 9 square or maybe a 2 by 3 square. I thought it looked really cool. you had to do a lot of planning because you have to post everything in threes, which I've gotten lazier with as I've gone on. But yeah, I just kind of once I started that as an illustrator, I just kept that going when I got into comedy more, um, and so now I still like plan out my social media posts to look cool if somebody happens to be upon my feed. That's how it started. And black and white's just I've transitioned to that because that's like the easiest way to look artsy. You just throw black and white on it. You know what I mean? Now you just throw a black and white filter on it, and you look like you know something about something. That's
It's true.
nice little
I
trick.
was I was looking through your illustrations. I actually had one of the hosts of Turn Up and Stone on here. So do you do
Oh,
like
which one? Which one of those
um
animals was it? Eric? Did you get Eric on there?
yeah, Eric, yeah, Eric,
Yeah,
Eric, yeah.
because Steve doesn't leave the house. If you if you had Steve on this podcast, I would have asked you how you did it. That fucking hermit is that dude's just a shaman in his hut on the side of the village.
Yeah,
So yeah, Eric came on here. I'm assuming yes. Did he hit
yeah,
you with
but
a bunch of historical facts about World War II?
no, he did. But as I'm
He's
looking
great.
on here, as I'm looking on here, I see that you've done so much. Like I've seen like the Roast Battle Chicago logo, the
Mhm.
Comedy Bar logo, like Laugh Factory headliners. You put all this together. Like, did they contact you just based off your work, and how has your illustration like helped you gain business in comedy as well?
100% it did. 100% it did. Well, with the comedy bar, I didn't do their logo, but I did do some when they were like back in 2017, 2018, they were looking to do merch. They weren't really doing merch at that time. Not that much. They had some. But I was working there. That's like how I started comedy is like I wanted to do the thing. Like I just was like, "Oh, you got to be a door guy or whatever," and I just called up the club and they were like, "You can yeah, we need a person to run box office." I was like, "You got it." And so just like kind of being in that environment, I like submitted some designs for their t-shirts and for their merch line, which actually it ended up not going through, but I really like the design. So I was like, fuck it, here's what I can do. So I just used it in my portfolio as like um a place to be like, hey, listen, guys, I can do that stuff.
Yeah,
Um at the time. Yeah, and Laugh Factory headliners, like Joe from Laugh Factory reached out to me because he knew word gets around when you start doing work for people, because everyone's going to need a poster, man. I knew that going into comedy. I was like, the one thing that I have up over other people, because I was so bad, I'm still terrible. And don't get that, don't even, I'm still really bad, but especially when you first start and you literally have no idea. I did know that I could probably be able to at least get know people and meet people by doing their posters and stuff. And so that was yeah, the word gets around, hey, who did this? Oh, Chris did. I'll reach out to him. And I've been able to do a bunch of posters for people, and I'm at the point now like this year where I'm feeling good because I'm kind of transitioning out of that and just doing more comedy, and like I'm doing the thing where I'm turning down jobs, which feels good, you know what I mean, where you're like, I'm doing the thing I actually want to do more now. So yep, I'll tell you that
how
much.
did
That's
how did
dude, and like there's a bunch of people like musicians. There's a fucking hilarious comic in the city named Hunter Hirsch. He's a jazz guitar player. So when he started, he would just do like uh uh guitar for people's shows. People would book
yeah
him to be like the guitar player on stage while they're telling jokes.
oh mhm.
He knew a bunch of people, but he's so funny that now people don't really look at him as like the guitar player guy. They look at him as Hunter the comic that also plays guitar.
Yeah.
So it is a good way to kind of network a little bit.
How did you transition out of being the illustration guy? Because the reason why I ask because I know some people in my scene also that does like um photography or probably do like some very other variation of arts like improv or whatever or might do like engineering or sound, but they want to be more taken seriously as a comedian. Like
Mhm.
how are you doing that transition to make sure that you're seen first as a comedian and then an illustrator?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I don't know how did you start? Did you have to do
Um
straight comedy right away, or did you have to find that kind of in?
I started doing comedy right away. I mean, I know how to do photography, but I was like, I don't even want to waste my time doing it. So like I just didn't
Sure.
even do it. But I feel like me doing this podcast is another way to get, you know,
Yes.
my foot in the door.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, you just gotta find your way in, dude. Like, I mean, you just gotta do the comedy of it. Like,
Mhm.
if you only do photography and you kinda do comedy, you're gonna be the you're gonna be the photography guy. But then if you do more comedy than the other thing, people are just gonna start looking at you like that. And
Yeah.
so that's just kind of what happened. I was illustrator guy and like open micer. Then I started doing roast battle. And then things kind of started to change a little bit because now I'm like having to reach out to so many, like I'm just having to reach out to comics and like book them and like talk about comedy. Um, and then slowly but surely, it's like, it's not like a one thing happens. It's like slowly but surely people start looking at you different. I was worried because I was bartending at Comedy Bar and shit. So I was worried that I was like bartender guy. All the comics knew me as the guy behind the bar.
Hmm.
But now it's, things have changed. It's just, you just slide out of it, dude. A little slip and slide.
Yeah.
You just get through it.
How did that feel when people started to recognize you or compliment you more for your jokes as opposed to be like, hey, can I get a drink or can I get a free ticket at the show tonight?
Yeah. I mean, it feels fucking great. What do
Yeah.
it rocks. You're like, this is the shit I want to do.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
finally happening, even if I'm bombing, at least I'm doing it. Sorry. I told you before we started, I fucking true to my core, I was drinking a Monster Energy, so now I'm all fucking burped up. So my apologies. But yeah, I mean, it feels great, dude. Comedy rocks. I love it. I love it more than anything. I tried a lot of different shit, man. Like I said, I was doing illustration, bartending. I was, I have a bunch of different mini passions, guitar, things like that. But comedy's a special thing, man. That won out, and I feel good to be able to, be a part of the scene and do it.
Well, before we transition, I do want to ask, like, how do you think some of like different creative gifts kind of correspond with comedy? And what I mean by that is like you do illustration. You could look at Jim Carrey who does illustration. There's probably a whole bunch of other comedians who do illustration. But if you look at
Mhm.
like this thinker
George
Chris Brown,
W. Bush,
yeah.
classic comic, one of my favorites.
If you look at like Chris Brown, he does like air the little brush painting. I forget, it's
Mhm,
escaping my mind right now, but and he
mhm.
sings, you know what I'm
He's a
saying?
good
Like,
cook too. Makes a
yeah.
meat knuckle sandwich. Gang, we're having fun. What are
And
we doing?
then like, like
Am I
some
still on the
people
podcast? Am I still
yes.
here? Are we still doing it? All right, cool.
But like some people like they have so many different like gifts and it all kind of can lead them to comedy. So like how is like illustration, like how did illustration like lead you to comedy outside of like, you know, getting your foot in the door? I don't even know if that was my original question, but that's the question for right now.
Okay. I like it. I like where we ended. It's not about it's not about the ending. It's about the journey and the friends we make along the way. It's all the domestic violence jokes we make upon the road. Okay. That's what it's all about. But I think, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's different for everybody. What's cool about any of it, especially comedy, I see, is that everyone finds their way there way differently, like super differently. It's not one road at all. And people like to act like there is, especially like those like kind of hardcore stand-up comic, like the big kind of the people I like to frequent, right? Like the people that are big fans of the classic Cellar guys. They idolize the back table at the Cellar, the Attell lovers, Burr, Patrice, like those guys, Colin Quinn kind of stuff. People act like there's the one true way, and to some degree, I agree with some of the principles there. But like I look around, man, and like somebody will get on stage and I'm like in tears, and they got there because they started in improv and they found out that stand up was what they wanted to do, and another person's up there because they did a bunch of theater in high school, and then they kind of got disenfranchised it, and then one thing led to another. Now they're up there doing like kind of a unique thing. um One person's up there because they're just an alcoholic, and you're like, that's what I'm talking about, right? And that's right. So everyone finds it differently. I think it's just like, for me, it was like I found my way there because I really just like creating shit. Like I just, to my core, I just want to do stuff. And when I was in school, only thing I could do during class when I was failing and not paying attention was draw, which led me to like really go into it. Then when I got out of school, I remember a friend asked me, he's like, if you could do anything in the world, what would it be? We were like high or whatever, and I was like, I would love to like host the Daily Show. I just remember saying that. I was like, I think that would be the coolest. I think that's the coolest job in the world. Like that specific job is the coolest thing because it's so funny and they know a bunch of shit, and I don't know anything about anything. So you learn a bunch of shit about the world, and you find a way to make it funny, like really serious shit funny. And then I realized I wasn't doing anything to get there. I was like, is that what I really want to do? I want to be the host of like a thing like the Daily Show, and I'm drawing monsters and penises every day. And listen, I still draw penises every day, but I need to put the work in to get behind that desk, So that was kind of one of the few things. And then I took a few mushroom trips and made the call to get there. So for me, the road there was just like, let me just fucking, I want to do it. Let's do
And from there, man, like now you're the host of the Roast Battle Chicago. How did you get that opportunity to be like the host? Because roast batting is very popular right now, and it can be very cruel and mean. So how did you get to be the host of Roast Battle Chicago?
Oh, I started it. So it was like roast battle is like such a unique. I love it. Number one, I love it. I fucking love the form of roast battle so much. Um, and I didn't start it. Brian Moses started it in L.A. at the Comedy Store. 10 years ago, coming on 11 years now, coming up this summer, and which is crazy to think about that. Do I get a little side scroll? Do I get the little 9/11 is happening right now side scroll right now? Host of Roast Battle Chicago. Where was that? Where was that in the beginning of the podcast? Why didn't I get the breaking news fucking ticker at the bottom? Like I'm playing Sim City. So that's awesome. Okay, host of Roast Battle Chicago. Um, so I don't even know that distracted me. That's how bad my ADD is.
I mean, I seen your eyes go down,
I was
but
like, what the fuck? I was like, thanks for letting I was really confused about what I was, so I appreciate that. But I make it fun of your setup, but I really do like it. It's fun.
I appreciate it.
But what was I saying, dude? What the
You said
fuck
you
was
said
I saying, dude?
you was talking about how they started roast battle in LA a
Oh
lot
yeah, they
years
started
ago.
it out there. I just want to clarify, I didn't start it. Brian started it out there. Then through some drama, he wanted to start a roast battle. Brian did in New York. Some people don't know this, but Brian was the one that wanted to start a roast battle in New York. There was another person that was trying to start one out there that he was like, let me see if I can do this better. He reached out and communicated with Luis J. Gomez of the Skanks. There were some conversations there. And then that's when Roast Masters, like if you look at the Stand YouTube channel, which is where I
Mhm.
fell in love with roast battling, is like that YouTube channel, dude. Like some of the, to this day, I think that's the golden era. I mean, that's like some of the funniest just comedy you can watch is like 2015, 2016 era of roast battle in New York is like unbelievable. Some of these guys out there and these chicks. I mean, like Dina Hashem is like just a beast if you haven't seen hers. Um, and so that kind of started. They got the thing with Comedy Central picked it up. They had 3 seasons on Comedy Central roast battle, and then things kind of died down. They stopped doing it in New York. Gas Digital stopped kind of doing it. They transitioned to like three. That now there's 3 roast battles out there. That's kind of that are 2 of them are affiliated with all the other ones, but it just kind of chilled out. Like there wasn't big videos online. Like they were still doing them, and there was everywhere around started doing roast battles. Like every city had one. Um, but there wasn't like that whole thing of like it's going viral from New York or it's on TV there. And then COVID hit, and when COVID hit, Chicago didn't have one at the time. We had roast battles before. They had one at the Laugh Factory and shit. They had some other roast stuff, but there just wasn't one in all of Chicago during COVID. And so I had the opportunity to start a show at the Lincoln Lodge, which is just the best venue ever. And I just love it. It's all run by comics, independent venue. They gave me a shot to start a show, and I started it with my friend Matt, and we just started a roast battle in Chicago. And Matt's very good with social media, so it got like it was starting to get views. And I did all the booking and stuff, and we just kind of worked. I did the graphics, right? That was one of the things. Like I'm able to promote with getting graphics together, posters, things like that. We got connected, and then Brian reached out to us, who started it, and they started the Roast Battle League. And so now, like all those cities that popped up out of nowhere are now connected in this league where we all like communicate with each other. We have tournaments. We have like our best of the city, and a lot of our best from our city in Chicago will fly out to where they're kind of doing these league events at the mothership in Austin now, and they get to compete with each other, which is just the coolest fucking thing ever, man. It's just the coolest fucking thing ever. So, I didn't really I wasn't like chosen to be a host as much as I was just in the right place at the right time. You know what I mean? And I sucked so bad in the beginning. I didn't really
Yeah.
host anything before the show. So like all of my
Mhm.
hosting skills just came from having to host the show, which is notoriously complicated thing to host and annoying to host. So I had to learn quick, but that's kind of how it all started.
What tips and tools did you take to learn to help you become a better host so quickly?
I'll tell you a story. You want to hear a story?
Yeah.
Want to hear old Chrissy egg on the face on my first time actually hosting something? Dude,
Yeah.
so embarrassing. I still cringe. It's so, oh, bro. So there's this great, he's a really, like just a pro comic. He's in the city of Chicago right now. His name's Rob Farouzesh. And the guy, he's this big Arab guy, really lovable, monster comic. And he's so nice. Shirt off his back kind of guy. Right. And so, because of his approachability, I asked him to be on our first show ever. We get there, and I don't think I'm hosting that night, but like that night, things got confusing, and I was basically had to host. I was not planning on doing it. Had never hosted. I hosted like one show before, but like not really. So it was really my first
Mhm.
night hosting anything, and it was Roast Battle. It was the first night of our show. So Rob is, I put him up first because I'm like, he's strong, and we sold 6 tickets for the show. So there's 6 people in the coldest room imaginable, divided by plastic because it's COVID-19. And I'm terrified to go up. I'm maybe 2 years in, maybe, you know. And one of those years is COVID years. So like that's like I'm really green, not hosting anything. And and all I had seen was like Louis J. Gomez go up there and be like, "You guys ready to fucking roast?" That's what I thought hosting that show was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I thought that's all I had to do. It was like, all right, guys, we're going to do it. Here's the roast battles. Here's this guy. Here's that guy. I didn't plan on doing any material because I was a pussy. You know, I was scared to do it. So I thought I could just rely on like, hey, Rob's funny. We'll get him up there. So I tell Rob, I'm like, hey, Rob, I'm going to just like say hi, introduce the show and bring you up. And he goes, what? I was like, I'm just going to introduce the show, bring you up. And he goes, no, you're kidding, right? And I was like, no. He's like, do a joke. Do one joke. And then bring me up. You know, he was trying to like jokingly inform me I should be doing material to warm them up. It's
Yeah.
my job. But I was like, okay. I go up. I don't even do a full joke. Like my first line bombs, and then I just go, guys, Rob Farouzesh, bring him up, dude. Throw him to the wolves. Coldest room possible. He bombs for whatever 8 minutes we had initially. Sits down at the table. I keep bringing people up. Everyone's bombing. Everyone's dying. But then the battles start happening. That's the beauty of the form. Battles start happening. The crowd kind of gets together. Some more people kind of filter in. And it turns into like actually a fun first show. Like, you know, it was weird. It wasn't perfect, but it was like pretty fun. And I was like, afterwards, having shots with people celebrating. So Rob comes in. I go, so Rob, let me get you a shot. Hey, sorry about the, and I put my hand on his shoulder. I go, hey, man, sorry about the thing in the beginning. And this guy, he's like 6'5", and he grabs both my shoulders. He looks at me. He goes, never do that again. And I was like, he's like, don't, dude, you threw me to the wolves. And that's okay because I like you and you're my friend. But do not do that to somebody else where it's going to be important because you can't do that. That is a terrible, you can't do that as a host. Because I thought you were going to do material and then go up. You have to at least try. You have to at least go for it. That's the job. And later on, he told me, he was like, and he didn't like shake me or like do anything bad. He was just like wanted to let me know, like, you can't, that's bad. And he's 100% right. And then, like a few days later, he told me, he's like, one of the best advice that I heard was that the job of a host is not to just host the show or do comedy. Your job is to turn a group of people into an audience. That's your job, right? You're letting this random group of people know this is what it is now. Get in here, fucking, you're all one now. You're in the show. This is how it works. Here's the rules. I'm going to do what I need to do to let you know that this is an experience we're all having. And so I really took that to heart. And then like the next few shows, I was like, I'm hosting every show. I'm hosting every single show because if I'm going to run this show, we cannot keep, this aggression will not stand, man. We cannot keep running it like this. And then it took a lot of shows for me. I'm a dumb, slow learner, but I figured it out. And, that was that was the big, you got to learn by that just jumping into the cold water sometimes.
Yeah. What's the key to like a good roast? Like, how do you prepare for it? And then two, how do you remain friends after a roast. I hear that sometimes friendships end after a roast. So for me, like I've only been in one roast battle, but I like to if I'm going to roast somebody, it has to be someone I know. Because if I don't
Yeah,
know them, I don't want them to take it personally. You know.
sure. I think that like the whole roast battle thing has matured a lot over 10 years. Like I think that that whole like you're going up there and it's blood sport thing, it's like yeah, that's true for the audience, but like it's kind of a misconception about like this being a truly personal thing. Like the thing is a joke writing contest, bro. Like that's all it is. It's look like jokes, bro. This is Yo Mama. That's what it is. Yo Mama's so fat. Like that like to its core, that's what it is. And like it's an elevated version of that, but like it really isn't personal.
Yeah.
And I would say for people who are starting roasting, yeah, start with a friend and have fun. Like, you know what I hear a lot from guys, Ty? You know what I hear a lot? Like people that make excuses to not do the show. It's so annoying, dude. I go, hey, you should do the roast battle. And they go, they do one of two things. They go, man, I can't do a roast battle. I'll be too mean, you know? They won't be able to handle my unrequited genius. Really? Or they'll do, man, I can't do it, man. Like I'll just get too into it. I'll get too competitive. I'll look into it too much and find out dirt about their fucking family. I'm like, why are you doing that? No one asked you to do that. No one wants you to do that. You're fucking stupid. The reality is neither of those things are true. You don't want to do a roast battle because number one, it's annoying because you have to prepare a lot. Number two, it's hard to do. The actual thing is actually pretty hard to do. And number three, you don't want to lose and look like an asshole, right? So you'd rather make up a lie to look cool that you're too badass. No one's too badass to do right. You see the most feeble, like small, weird guy get up and have one of the greatest thing performances you've seen because they're just funny. It's a funny competition, man. And it's a
Mm.
funny competition with somebody, and hopefully you guys are cool and like you guys make it work. And yeah, there's a little bit of a I want to get you more than me more than me, right? Especially if it's a tournament. But I think the key to a funny and good roast battle is just like having fun and like trying really hard and like really writing your jokes and rewriting them and like try to write
Yeah.
as good jokes as possible. It's really as simple as that. And I highly encourage anybody who's like nervous about like doing it, like try it and like try to have fun and like go into it with the mindset of fun instead of a mindset of like blood sport. Let me kill you. Because I just want to let you know the audience doesn't give a fuck. I've seen every type of roast battle, dude. No one gives a fuck about the guy that's frothing at the mouth like this is Gladiator, bro. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
just fucking,
Yeah.
just
That makes
call him
sense.
fat, call him fat, and get the fuck out of there.
How do you continue to grow the show and make sure that it keeps getting better and better and that you keep bringing the same audience and more different audience members to keep it growing?
It's a good question. I don't know. Do you know? I'd like to get your tips on how to. Do you have any idea? Because I'm trying. I mean, that's where I'm at now. That's like one of the main things on my mind. Like now, more than ever. Like before, it felt like because like we're doing shit now. We're at Zanies, like we're selling tickets and shit, and it feels
Yeah.
good. And like we're going, like all of our people are going out to Austin and stuff. Like it's kind of like become a self sustaining thing, sort of, right? It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. First, heads above water. Let's make sure the show runs at all. Let's make sure there's an
Mhm.
audience. Let's make sure we can get the show booked. It's impossible to get it booked. Now we're at that question of like, how do we make it like, how do we elevate it and get better? New audience, change it up. We do a lot of different things. Number one, we book bigger shows. We have more people on per show. That's the first thing we did. Number two, we are far. I especially after this upcoming tournament, dude. Like we're going to start being way more selective of who gets on the show. It used to be everybody we just let on pretty much.
Mhm.
Most people we'd let on. But that's going to change. Um, we're also doing something recently which I like, which is our new people are doing less jokes. That's for the audience's sake. Oof. We do 7 jokes in Chicago, 7 jokes each. That's a lot of jokes to write for, the noobs.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
dude, imagine having to sit through 14 noob jokes just waiting for the judges to be cruel. So we cut that down. And then And now we're actually doing something now, which is like we want to figure out how to have it more, because like there is kind of there is kind of a thing of like, although the bookings are open to everybody, the reality is like only certain people sign up, right? So we kind of are like trying to incentivize more diverse types of acts and comedians to get on the show. So like if you're a noob and you're like, I want a roast battle, and I'll roast battle anybody, and I'll be like, and we don't have any like women booked on the show, I'll be like, you're allowed to roast battle, but you have to bring a lady. It's nightclub rules. We do it like it's a fucking nightclub in Vegas where it's like you can come, but you got to bring a chick.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Because we want to have a more diverse show. Like it sucks to have a show of just like 14 people, because we'll book like 5 or 6 battles per show,
Hmm.
meaning that like that's 12 comics just roasting plus 5 comics on panel. It's a lot for little old zanies. So I want to make sure that not all of those people are just white dudes calling each other pedophiles. As fun as that is for the whole family, that is boring. It's just boring. So I want,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that we're trying to elevate, is like figure out a way to make the show just more dynamic and diverse every show.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. How did you come up with Zany's being the location?
Yeah. So we had done it was right. We started looking into venues right after last year's tournament. Because
Okay.
it was really, dude, it was really stressful. Like that last show was like really stressful. We had
Hmm.
like Robert Kelly coming in as a guest judge. We had Hans Kim coming in as a guest judge. It was a lot of logistics, and the Lincoln Lodge is an incredible venue. Um, but there were certain things where we were like, damn, we sold it out, man. Like it was standing room only, and we were like, if we were to go to another venue that could maybe accommodate certain things, if we wanted to do something like that, what would it be? And Zanies was open to it. We reached out and they were down. We were like hot online, had some conversations, and we moved there, and it's been fucking awesome ever since. I will say, I've said this venue many times already. I love the Lincoln Lodge. We're going back there for the prelims this year for the tournament, so I'm excited to go back and come to the homeland where we started. Yeah, dude,
Okay.
I'm making the trip out to Israel. Never mind. Whoops. World events notwithstanding.
What?
What? I'm making my birthright trip. I'm a start a war with the Blue Room.
Oh man, that's funny, man. But no, man, I think you guys are doing great things out there. I mean, a lot of people are loving it, and even with a tournament, like I think we've had one tournament last year, but I think they're about to
Mhm.
do like another March Madness type of tournament this year. So
What's the
yeah,
roasting like out there, man?
it's fun. I've only done it like one time, but I do go to the shows. It's fun. They usually have you like pick your person that you want to roast and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And just to see how everybody, I don't know, like sometimes like the jokes will be good, and then they'll be like, "Who wrote your jokes?" Because normally when you do your
Hmm.
set, it don't even, you're not even this good. So I think
Hmm.
that part be
Sure.
funny about it.
Yep.
But yeah, like everybody kind of knows everybody, and I am curious and interested, like when they get a little like too deep and personal, I'd be like, dang, like I didn't even realize that about that person. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he does like only like seems like he's a healthy person when he's in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
like I like it. It kind of makes you be like, okay, who can I talk about next? But and when you put it to that way that you just kind of like telling like your mama jokes, it's kind of like now I think about it like you just outside backyard, just kicking it with your
Hmm.
homies, just talking shit
Yeah.
about each other, pretty much.
Talking shit. Try to be clever. Like try to hit your punchlines good. It's such a good joke writing, like experiment. Like it's you can go up there. It's training.
Yeah,
Like I have like one maybe 2 lines and a punchline, right? I don't have the ability to do a long story. Some of these traps you might fall into if you're writing actual material, and so it's good to kind of get your brain churning in that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, one of the things that you also do, you're one of the hosts of Your Feed Sucks podcast. What are kind of the things that you guys talk about or do over there?
Well, first I want to thank you for bringing the ticker pack, and I'm very happy it's on. It makes me very happy. Um, that was fun. But your feed sucks. I mean, it's just, dude, it was like I started that with my friend Nick and Jeff, who are hilarious comics, Nick Cartwright and Jeff Brumfield, because um I when we did roast battle, it's like so complicated. Like it's so complicated, dude. It's like we have posting schedules, we have team meetings, we have like a bunch of shows. It's exhausting. And it can kind of suck the fun out of things sometimes. So I was like, if I was to do like another project, it would have to be number one with people that I just love hanging out with and we make each other laugh all the time.
Hmm.
You don't always get that with comics, you know. Some
Yeah.
comics you're able to laugh with them, and some comics you're like, you're funny on stage, but this is our chemistry is like whatever, you know. It's just like, ugh, I'm gonna go. Rather chew glass. So I wanted a non-chew glassable, crew to hang with.
Yeah.
And then I also was like, I just want it to be like easy. Like the concept needs to be so proven, so tried and true. And so yeah, we were just like, I was like, let's just do the react to like a crazy, like really crazy videos. Like I was at that time, like I fine tuned my feed
Yeah.
online to be mostly people getting hurt overseas. It was Instagram is mostly people dying and babies like getting hit by trains or whatever. So I was like, I had a very nice curation, like a nice cauldron of weird, like a good feed, like no politics, unless you're like one of the hot chicks that I follow that post politics. That's how I get most of my politics now. Is like chicks that I follow because I want to see their stories. Everyone else muted. I don't want to hear. But so my feed is mostly tits and death. So I was like, let me get with my friends and let's watch some of these videos. It's so simple. Everyone's done this, and we can have fun. And we did our first dude from the first show we did, like our test show. We were having so much fun, and I was like, let's do it. And so it's me, Jeff, and Nick, and we have a great time. We tell stories and watch some crazy videos and have a great time.
I think that would make for a good live show. Now that you're talking about it, if you did a live show and people volunteered for you to look at their feed and you guys make jokes about their feed, like what kind of stuff are you into? I think
Yeah.
that make it good because my feed, when I think about it, it's mainly like workout stuff. So it's because
Hmm.
I'll get like my workout videos from there and do the workout
Hmm.
at the gym. So it's a lot of guys with their shirts off, but it's also a lot of women shaking their asses. So it's
Congratulations. Congratulations. It's a lot of dudes like sweating and telling you can do it. I've been on that train for a while. I try because I'm such a fat little pig. Like I just need like a Jack Black guy to be like, the grind ain't never done. And you're like, you're right, guy that I wish I was. The grind ain't never done. And then I just struggle to put up the bar.
I make sure not to open it in public. I don't want nobody to get the wrong ideas. I'm like, this is just a workout video. This is clearly just a
Hey,
workout video.
listen, it's 2024. You can lick sweat off of any version of skin that you want. Any version of a human lump, dude. It's all good these days.
That's so funny. I remember one time, I think it was on my TikTok first, and then it ended up on my IG. It was this video of like maybe 4 or 5 black women, and they all had like gigantic asses, and they were
Mhm.
like BBWs, and they were trying to run from one end to the beach to the other, and I was just in heaven, and I
Yeah,
saved it. And I'm like,
attaboy.
thank God this made it to this feed.
Is
I
this
love
why?
this.
Is this why we're in the sheets together? Is this why we're in the sheets together? Is just to talk our favorite porn preferences and hold each other close? Can you be my personal trainer guy on my feed that telling me that I can do it and and get the bar to the top?
Oh my
One more
God.
rep. One more rep from Ty.
Oh man, Chris, one of the things that I love to ask people when they come on here is who is on their Mount Rushmore. So who is on your Mount Rushmore for comedy?
It's tough, dude. It's tough. I'll say my two. I'll say my one and two. Oh, I got three. I got three. It's always hard to the fourth one. It's really corny, so I'm sorry to everybody. It just is what it is. How I feel. So it's Patrice O'Neill's is big guy in the mountain. He's my Teddy Roosevelt. And then I would say Abe Lincoln is Bill Burr. I would say Jackson would be Louis probably. And then the fourth one is, you know what I like to do with my Mount Rushmore? I take a giant crane and I switch out heads every 6 months. That's what I do with my fourth one. So it'll just be who I'm dabbling in now. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it'll be like Robert Kelly for a while. I'll be like, I really like what he's doing. Have you ever seen Robert Kelly live?
No.
Dude, he's great on the radio. He's a good like podcast guy, but him as a stand up comic, his like what he does is like you watch him and you go, I need to be better. Like this, I'm not doing this right. You know what I mean? You see some guys, you're like, I'm not a comic. That's what a comic is. So then I'll put him out, and then I'll put in Big J Ogerson. Then I'll take him out. I'll put in Sam Talent or Rory Scovel. And it just depends on who I'm. That my fourth one is whoever I'm rocking for that 6 months. So top three would be Patrice, Bill, and Louis.
Okay. Okay.
Those are my favorite.
What you're actually the first comedian to actually know, or at least say, the presidents that is on the Mount Rushmore. I had no idea who they were at all whatsoever.
Really?
I'm like, who the fuck is Abraham?
Hey, Ty. I don't know if you know history. If there's one that you should have known, hey, Ty. I don't know if there's one that you specifically should be aware of. It might have been Abraham Lincoln.
I'm like, oh, you mean Abe? We call him Abe. I don't know.
We call him, oh, you mean Big A? Yeah, I know Big A. Homie with the top hat, right? Yeah, I know him. Abraham Lincoln. I didn't know that was his name.
Oh man, Chris. What words of like encouragement or motivation would you give to any comedian that's listening to this right now?
Gotcha. Quit now. Quit. Don't do it. No. I don't know. Number one, if you're this far into the interview and you're still listening to me, you've done something wrong. I would say stop listening. I appreciate you. Stop listening to me though. Go listen to Louis or Bill on Opie and Anthony or something, or fucking whatever. I maybe I don't know. Just in general words of encouragement, if they're just at any level, just doing comedy. Yeah. What do I say? Okay. For the comics that are more experienced than me, here's my advice. I'm sorry. For the comics that are my peers that are the same as me, please don't hate me. You probably hate me, and I'm sorry. If comics that are coming up, one day you can be as genius as I am. One day you can reach my level of genius. Here's what I'll actually say. Here's something I believe. That's maybe a hot take. Going into, I'm intrigued. How often do you come out to Chicago, Ty?
I try to come out at least a couple times a year. I'll actually be out there April, probably next month too, as well.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know about Chicago. There's some cool comedy history out here. There's like a lot of different comedy history, like Second City and everything. I would say to like something I believe that is like really be open to all the forms. Like I know, like a lot of comics have like stand-up comics have beef with improv people, as they should. They're really annoying, but the form of improv is incredible. I love it. And if you go to like a main stage Second City show and tell me you're not kind of impressed, I mean, they fucking bring it, man. They bring it as performers, and like what they're doing is like super, super technical and like really funny. And it's so different than stand up. It's like so different, dude. Like the whole mindset is different, really. And so I think like some comics get in their head that you shouldn't, like, there's only, like I said earlier, there's only one way to do something. It's like, be open to the improv thing, because maybe you can learn a skill from like the improv people that you can bring into your stand-up. I see a similar thing with people kind of talking down on roasting. A lot of people talk shit on roasting, and that's fine. I would say that maybe reconsider that, because I just look at it as one of the tools in your fucking comedy Batman tool belt, dude. It's like it's like improv, it's like crowd work, storytelling, roasting. It's just one of the fucking tools, man. Yeah. And it's like you can do whatever you want. You can be whatever kind of Batman you want. But I think the best comics, you know, they're not wearing hockey bats, right? They're up there. They got the full fucking kit. Okay. Like my favorite comics had the whole fucking kit. And I think it would benefit to be open to other shit. And that's one of the things that made me feel like I was getting better, is when I started, like, if I ever felt stale or something was being stale, I would look at somebody doing something different. I'd be like, what are they doing where it looks so fucking virile? It looks so alive, and I feel so fucking dead. Why do I feel so bored? And I'm not doing good shit. Be open to somebody doing something different, because you might feel good about the shit. You might be able to fuse it with your shit and make it better.
Message.
Oh
Chris,
shit!
tell people.
Message.
Chris, tell people why they should listen to Comedians in Bed.
Why they should listen to this podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the host is a wealth of knowledge, and he has a news ticker. Ignore the fact that he doesn't know who Abraham Lincoln is. Ignore that. We don't need to. We don't need to worry about that. You should listen to Comedians in Bed, because if you're trying to get horny and talk comedy, there is no better podcast. My pants are off. The camera isn't low enough to see it. I've been stroking the whole time. So, as a guy that jerks off frequently, I will say this is top tier content. That's why you should listen to this podcast.
Bing bong.
Chris, tell people where they can find you at.
ChrisGrieco.jpg on Instagram, at Chris Grieco on TikTok, and then Chris Grieco on YouTube. I just posted my full set of roasting Ken Flores on my YouTube. So if you're a fan of Ken Flores, you know him. We had the roast of him at Rosemont, and my full set's up there. Give it a watch if you want, and you're a fan.
Hey man, give Chris Grieco a follow on all things social, man. If you want to catch next week's episode, you can see it live on Tuesday, 11 a.m. on my YouTube channel at TYE Comedy. If you want to see weekly clips, you can follow us on IG at Comedians in Bed Podcast. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe and review and rate. Once again, thanks to my man Chris. We hope you guys learned something very valuable here today. Shout out to Chicago. We'll see you.